Welcome back to the podcast. Today we are with Antonio Martinez. Thanks for being here, Antonio.
Thank you. I think I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Antonio Martinez, and this is Apollo Martinez. Hopefully he'll behave. If there's any snorting, it's from him, not from me. I'm an associate professor for of photography with the School of Art and Design at SIU.
Yeah, we're going to get into a mural, this huge mural that we've been doing, get into this class that you've been offering, and get into the details of the design, the whole process. I can't wait to hear from that. And if anyone's listening and wants to learn from what you've learned, that our experience has been, anyone listening, we can provide some information, our perspectives on it too.
Absolutely. Actually, it was yesterday on Instagram. I have a show up in Chicago, and one of my subjects who I photographed, he reached out to me and was asking for some tips. And so I was very happy that there's other people that are doing their first mural. And so I offered him quite a few tips that I've learned through this process. A lot of the tips came from other mural artists, such as Raul Cisniega, who I met in Chicago. He's based in Mexico City, and also Das, who has a mural here in Marion. Both Raul and Das spoke with my class over Zoom earlier in the semester to give us some pointers about the logistics of what it takes to be a professional mural artist, and also some of the business aspects too, if one's wanting to pursue that as a career or even a side hustle. For myself, a little background. I don't think too many people know that I have a BFA in painting. So that I earned that at Creighton University several years ago. Then I went to grad school for photography. Then I guess I found my way back to the painting world. So kind of enjoy the process of returning back to paints and brushes.
That's so cool. And you were actually my very first photography teacher, professor at SIU, learning just the basics. So
right,
I got to give you a big shout out for, laying some of those pillars for me through the photography class. So thanks for that.
Oh, you're welcome. But no, back at you. Thank you for allowing this opportunity. I think it was last summer. Last summer that I bumped into you and just kind of pitched the idea, as I felt that there were some students out there that wanted to apply their drawing and painting to street art. I'm going to set him down. There you go. Go explore.
Go ahead, Apollo.
Don't steal anything. Okay. So that conversation really led to this. There were grad students at School of Art and Design. They showed interest. They wanted to have this class. It was a late class in that it wasn't on the books, so I had to frame it around as an independent study. And there was enough students. There was, I believe, 5 students enrolled. Many of them are grad students, and there's an art education undergrad. So we meet Friday evenings. At least we were meeting Friday evenings. That's Apollo. And that's when we had the Zoom meetings with Raul and Das, and also John Musgrave, because he's a local historian and a journalist and author, and I knew he is very familiar with the history, the local history. So we had him on the Zoom, and he taught us a lot bit about the very rich and varied history of Marion. So we wanted to try to incorporate some elements into that. The class structure is pretty loose. We meet from 5 to 8. Our first meetings were with John to learn about Marion. Then we took those ideas individually, and the students created their own individual sketch. Then we did a critique, or we were just brainstorming, spitballing some ideas around, and the students then teamed up with one another to really round out some of the ideas. Then I was also listening and kind of taking some of their ideas and their concepts and kind of meshing it up into this.
Yeah, this final design is just beyond epic. It's just I want to get into some of the details of, some of the symbolism, some of the meaning, and how you taking that concept of, we know we want to do a mural and we have the history and different elements, but how do you make that into this giant piece of public art, from step one. So obviously, like you said, tying in the history, and some of the surrounding space too, right?
Right. Well, I guess we can just jump into this.
Yeah.
So we learned that Marion has a very, what's the polite way of saying this? Interesting history, where there's interesting characters doing some illegal activities, whether it's bootlegging. There's obviously some dark parts of Marion's history, and we obviously didn't want to be obvious with it, because this is trying to make it friendly, viewer friendly for the public. But we were able to find ways to work in symbolism. There's a lot of interesting symbolism. I'm gonna hold off right here. I'm gonna try to get Apollo in my lap. He's thumping.
He's got an itch.
There isn't like a construction worker in here like pounding away. Come here. Come here. There we go. You're gonna go back in my lap. All right. So, there's some obvious symbolism. I'm going to work my way from the left all the way to the right. So there's two, jugs. The triple X, kind of a popular motif.
With this mouse.
Yep, symbolizing kind of like whiskey, the bootlegging. So when designing this, we worked on trying to incorporate some of the existing elements, like downspouts or the door. That was one thing Raul Cisniega thought was, if you can incorporate some of those elements, there's a payoff. In some cases, it may not be possible. So the students each consider that, and there's definitely, I guess, the design element. So we thought it'd be interesting to have the jugs actually dripping down into the downspouts. So
there's a gutter system right here.
Yep, there's the gutter system. So a little thing about those magenta or pink, where to be like trees. We decided to get rid of them because it's really hard to paint behind and in between the parts. So you won't be seeing that in the end piece. So it's just you're focusing on the jugs and the droplets of whiskey or milk or whoever, right. Whatever one wants to imagine it to be. There's obviously flowers, the flora. Obviously, there's a lot of wildlife, and it seemed that putting a raccoon on top of the whiskey jug seemed appropriate. I know I'm not hating on raccoons, but they are creatures of the night. They kind of look like robbers, little mischievous animals. So just putting one on there, just kind of alluding to the illegal activity back in the heyday,
Prohibition era,
right.
when there was literally gangs
at Charlie Berger
running the county with rifles and Tommy guns, and running bootleg alcohol.
Exactly. So it's kind of a nod to that. It may be on the nose, I'm not sure, but we're sticking with wildlife. We felt that was a safe place. So being able to tell a story through nature was kind of where we're at. Now there's some underneath the large jug is a bear print, and you also see a bear constellation in the sky. So this is dealt with one of the tall legends about this area being populated by black bears, and that kind of problematic tale about a Native American hunting a black bear as well as a settler, and they both were pointing, one obviously with an arrow, another one with a gun, and they're hunting the same bear, but the European settler, ended up shooting the Native American. It's kind of a weird legend. I don't know if it's true or not. But
and that came through the Zoom meeting with John Musgrave, the
right.
historian.
Yeah. That the students their jaws dropped when they heard like the Indian, like, what's this about? This is the first time I ever heard it. So
Me too.
So there's kind of homage to that, putting a big giant bear print underneath the jug, but also the constellation. The outline of a bear constellation above the outline of a wigwam, a village, kind of a nod to Native Americans, the Shawnees, that once inhabited this area. In the middle of the wigwam village is a tall tree that doesn't have half of the limbs are missing. So it's kind of just a way to reflect on the culture that existed here prior to development and early European colonization. There's obviously a lake with some waves, which kind of also look like fish. And then below that is some footprints of deer in the dark foreground. Then we have obviously flowers and two deers running through the forest, kind of leaping through, or two does. And there's then some mushrooms. I think, I'm trying to remember I'm terrible with knowing my mushrooms other than morels and oyster mushrooms. But
there's a geometric pattern going on here.
Right, and that was to complement your existing designs, both inside in your kind of banquet hall area, but also on the outside. So I know that was one thing you had mentioned. You enjoyed abstract, geometric. So the students definitely had a challenge, because we have some students that their strength is like figurative. So it's good to be able to do both. So this is kind of a happy medium. Then in the kind of the feature is the fox, and that's a nod to Francis Marion, whose nickname was the Swamp Fox, and it felt appropriate to put him right there.
Again, a nod to that history of how the city of Marion was named after this Revolutionary War iconic person in this area.
Exactly. So that, and also keeping the geometric design, that's very similar to what's in the raccoon. And this area is going to be experiencing the second eclipse. So it felt like, that's pretty rare for an area to have two eclipses. So it felt appropriate to have that in the background as well. Above the Swamp Fox is a... Did you guys hear that?
Which in his face of the microphone.
That's great. We have to repeat that.
That's going to be a soundbite.
Wait, what did you think? Huh? No? You don't like that? All right. Luckily, it's not smelling. Okay. So the black diamond is a reference to not so much the black diamond Harley Davidson, but it's kind of a reference to the coal industry, like the heydays of this area, Marion being one of the premier coal mining cities. And that's also why the foreground is black as well. There are some additional black diamonds kind of coming out of the ground. There's a pickaxe as well, a nod to the industry. There's mushrooms growing from the ground, and there's also arrowheads and arrows. Again, another nod to the Native Americans. And the black diamond that's in the above the fox, there is a small arrowhead inside of it as well. And you can see the birds, the migrations, birds going both directions. There's a blue heron and some ducks and the silhouettes. Then beneath the heron is another deer. And what's interesting about the deer's eye, it's actually the symbol for the Great Spirit, according to Native American, spiritual symbolism. So I was trying to find every way to kind of slide in really interesting and historical symbols. And there's arrows that are coming off of the sun rays, and there's also an arrow that's right beneath the deer in the ground. There's significance to the arrow that's in the ground, and arrow that's facing down, I believe, means like peace. And I believe the arrows that are facing to the right means to ward off evil. Then we have the coyote, which is a trickster in a lot of cultures. Kind of, I won't say it's on par with the raccoon, but the coyote is definitely a trickster. And that design was pulled from one of our students. Like, we felt, everyone in the class thought that was a really strong coyote, so we were able to drop it into it as that. I think there's one more thing. There's the woodpecker. That's again another reference to the birds in this area, and it looks like the woodpecker is, well, obviously pecking at the tree, and leaves are falling. The idea of having that there, it seemed a little interactive because there's a door right beneath, and we imagine with all murals, people tend to migrate to frames, and the door frame is probably a nice place for one to stand there and get their portrait made for their Instagram. Or, I mean, there's a lot of interesting places to stand for your Instagram shot on this, whether it's underneath Swamp Fox or between the two deers, or if someone wants to lay down and imagine like they're getting, I know that the bootleg jugs are going into their mouth. I mean, whatever.
Get creative.
Yeah, whatever. There's a lot of Instagram potentials here.
Absolutely. And that's, something we see a lot around people coming up to the ones, just taking their picture, sharing it.
Yeah, like the one with the umbrella. Yeah.
Some interactive elements. And, yeah, it's an awesome design, really, how it's all come together, throughout the whole class. And now, was that in Photoshop, mostly Illustrator?
That was Illustrator.
Yeah.
So many paths, so many shapes.
Yeah.
I think
it's an intricate design.
So I was pulling a lot of pieces from the students, like the mushrooms, obviously the coyote, kind of redesigning some of the deers and the wigwams. So being able to convert it all to vector definitely took some time. I think the design from like sketch to kind of final Illustrator form, I think I logged in close to 42 hours.
Wow.
Just on that.
Wow.
And yeah. And
I mean, it's intricate. There's a lot of elements. And it's it has almost like 4 different areas of, some main features like the raccoon and the jug, the deer, the fox and the clips, and then the coyote. So there's a lot there's a lot to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth, foreground to midground to background. Like there's a lot happening here, and that's a challenge because it can be too busy. I'm my wife and some of the students in the early beginnings, I was dead set on trying to bring in an armadillo to kind of reference new cultures moving into the area. But I couldn't, design-wise, I had nowhere to put it. Like, so I may have to like do another mural in the future focus that would be armadillo themed.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that I wasn't able to work in. Oh.
I mean, there's already so much, right?
Yeah.
It'd be a challenge to get that in, and even seeing previous versions, like adding the buck, and adding the bear, just small things like that, just really make this one of the most unique mural designs I've seen. And actually, I was totally blown away, and still am, of just how intricate and just how cool it is, really. It's just, you crushed it out with this design, Antonio.
Oh, you know what? I forgot that's hidden. There's 3 crows.
Oh, yes.
And big giant crow heads coming out of the trees. There isn't a significance. There's not a backstory on that. I just, crows are one of the smartest species, or, so that's it. I'm sure there's more like folklore dealing with crows, but I just wanted to incorporate a little more variety of the birds in this scene.
Yeah, I think you did a great job tying it into the history, but keeping that wildlife theme and the geometric just all laid out, and still making it cohesive in one design. It's really impressive. So,
thank you.
Well,
it wouldn't have been possible without the students as well. And, there's a lot of people, whether it's John, yourself, the students in the class. This would have not come together without everyone's effort and input.
Totally. Maybe we can, if there's anything else you want to mention on the design.
The easy. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's the easy part or the hard part, because I guess you can't fall off a ladder when doing design. And I have not fallen off a ladder. That's when you're putting paint on the wall. Yeah, that's when things get the stakes get higher.
Totally. It's one thing to lay out the design, but it's another to put it on in a massive scale.
Right. And Josh Benson definitely has helped us acquire the paints, and also have some of the paints mixed. The Marion's, I guess, local Sherwin Williams did a wonderful job. There's some colors that we have to custom mix to make it work, because as you can see, there's a lot of colors here, and it would
just in the fox alone, I think there's like 20 different colors.
Yeah, but I feel like it needs to be that way. I didn't want to super simplify it, so that's probably the most challenging part at this point where we're at. Getting the colors right. Some colors are easier to get correct, but others are definitely more challenging. It's just a matter of taking one step at a time, being patient with it. I have realized I'm more precise and alert in the morning. As we get towards the afternoon, I start to get a little impatient and want to make a rash decision, which I'll probably have to paint over the next morning. So It's being able to pace oneself on this that's important.
So right before we were recording this, I think we painted for 8-9 hours this morning, all day.
Yeah.
So we just got off the wall. So fresh feeling. Yeah. If we got paint on our hands, you can see it. This afternoon I was feeling it. I was like, oh man.
Oh yeah.
It's that time in the mural.
It was last week where I had to cancel a day of painting for my students because I needed a day of rest. I did not realize how physical this can be when you're up on the ladder. All the blue sky, I think I did in one day, just going up and down, up and down. The students know and no, I believe them. They say they're afraid of heights, and going up there is pretty scary. But making sure that your ladder is not leaning, being methodical, being focused, super important. There was one moment where the resident across the way took the opportunity to say some great things to me. Like, no, they were like complimenting, but the timing was terrible because I'm right-handed and I was on the far left side trying to get up to the highest point, and this person decided to have a conversation with me while I just want to get down.
You're like reaching to the very tip top. You're like, I gotta go. No,
can't talk right now.
Yeah, I'm focused.
But that day definitely wrecked me.
Oh yeah.
My heels, the bottom of my feet, my upper back, my lower back. I like to say CrossFit prepared me, but with COVID, a lot of CrossFit gyms closed down, so I haven't been as active. But it's physical. But
it's a marathon.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, and that kind of sunk in. Like, that you have to treat this as a marathon. Otherwise, you're gonna rush, and it's gonna look sloppy, and that's not what I want in this. If we're gonna be spending all this time on it, I definitely want it to be close
Done
as
right.
possible to the actual original design. I know it's gonna be off for a little bit, some just because of the colors. But we'll try to get as close as we can. The stars, like, it's really hard to paint the stars in or trace the stars. Let's back up. Being able to trace this was kind of daunting. We had to break it up into quarters and project each quarter independently. And we had some minor misalignments, but overall I think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, and the wall was primed first, right? So you also prepped the wall before priming even.
Yeah, tuck pointing, cleaning, power washing. I think there's some videos of me doing that. Students helped with the priming. Oh, you didn't help nothing. You just sat in the car and just watched. Shout out to Josh for telling us about was it airless spray can or the sprayer? That definitely sped up the priming.
Yeah, any priming, if you can spray, get that coverage, that's what just makes it a lot easier. And for those bricks, it penetrates those bricks a lot easier than having to push in with a roller or a brush. And again, that will help get that white blank canvas, and then into the projections, which we had to do at night. Mm-hmm. So there were some late nights too.
Right. I was gonna ask you to call the mayor and say, can we get those parking lot lights turned off, because they were kind of washing out the design. It definitely made it harder to, but we powered through and were able to figure it out. The hardest part was those trees.
Oh yeah.
We talked about it. Those kind of cypress swamp-looking trees.
Yeah, those have been, as we've been painting,
we're scratching our heads like, what is going on here? I'm going to tomorrow, or not tomorrow, it's Sunday when I come out again. I just got to have a clearer mind and reduce the tree into the basic shapes and focus on that instead of like looking at, oh, that's a tree, I need to paint this tree. Focus on like, oh, there's a rhombus here and there's another rectangle, and just focus on that, and that'll make it easier. And trying to ignore the really erratic charcoal tracings.
What's it been like working with the scale? Can you talk about that? How you're going close to the wall and you're right up on it, but the scale, you need to step back. Can you talk about that?
Right. you start to, when you're up close, it's definitely kind of like, it's helpful to have a phone with the design.
To reference.
Yeah. To get an idea so you can pinch and like zoom in. That's helped. I've actually used my phone with a light stand with a smartphone adapter, tripod adapter, so it's right there and it makes it easier versus having it in my pocket and trying to like pull it out while I'm on a ladder. Like that was not sustainable.
Right. You want to stay on the ladder like you were saying. You know, don't be reaching in, pulling out. Any extra movements, not necessary.
Yeah. But working in close, sometimes there's all these competing lines, and you don't know, like, does the brush need to go on the right side or the left side of this line? Then you have to get down the ladder, look, and, you know, there's several spots where I kind of messed up, and I had to, like, paint over it just because I was confused. I thought I was on the right side of the line, but I was on the incorrect side. So hopefully my new iPhone with the light stand and the adapter will help.
Yeah.
Some scratches. Okay.
It's you know, section by section. You know, it's like, how do you tackle something this big?
Well, with your guidance, like being able to, like, okay, especially when we have to mix special colors, like we have to mix enough of that color because it's going to be super hard to get it right the next time, like a week from now. Like if we ran out of it and we missed a spot, it just makes it harder. So being able to strategize, figure out what the game plan is. So the sky was working from back. Hey, I'm talking. What, you got something to say? Okay. So being strategic with your colors. I'm going to set you back down. Okay. Go. So I think the first day we did the coyote and the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the deer, the two doe. So being strategic, because nothing's worse than running out of a custom color and realizing you missed a spot than being able to replicate that same color. So also what I've learned, it's nice to work from the background to the foreground, with the exception of the coyote, because the coyote was probably the easier element because it's just large and
the biggest color blocks on the whole mural.
And all the line work obviously is going to be done later. Probably the last step's going to be the stars and the ducks, the silhouettes. I'm going to have to, in the bear constellation, being able to get a super precise bear constellation, it's impossible it was really hard to trace it. Right now it kind of looks like an elephant, like outline. Like I'm tempted to just paint blue, then just make a stencil. I think that's what my game plan is going to be, just to get precise. Maybe use a spray can to spray that constellation in. So those are some of the strategies. There's obviously easier areas, and there's definitely the more complicated areas, such as the raccoon and the swamp fox. And I'm also debating whether to do the deer hooves as well.
Has there been anything that surprised you, like something you weren't expecting?
Other than the physical, like, pain.
That's the standout, right?
Yeah, that definitely stood out.
Yeah.
The sun, I think we were really lucky and fortunate that this is on the north side. So in this time of the year, the sun isn't pounding us. Not until like 4:45. That's when it starts to get a nice tan.
Little farmer's tan going.
Yeah.
Got to roll the sleeves up.
So I think watching the weather is a big thing, Because originally my idea was like the students are going to come and paint in the evening when their class meets, because that's their schedule. But when painting, you need larger blocks of time. So Saturdays, Sundays. For me, my schedule opens up on Thursdays and sometimes Fridays. So because it's just more worthwhile when you have large spans of time to work on, because it takes longer than what I had originally thought. It was kind of demoralizing that the blue sky took me 9 hours or something like that, and you get off that ladder and you're just like, that's all I did. Like, it's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
It starts to become a good feeling when other elements come in, and that's when it starts to pay off.
Yeah, whenever those larger pieces have come in, that's always a morale boost. It's like, okay, it's coming, you can see it, and that really helps push it along. And we've been super fortunate for the students, all the students. That has been just, instrumental.
I think they come when they come, they're super excited. You can tell that they're proud, as well as even
they should be.
The Marion residents or citizens that have come by. It seems like they're very happy with the design. What are you doing? Hey, come here. Come here. It's time. Come here. Come here. I got something for you. Come here. Yes. So he has a... I was hoping not to do this. I heard him licking his paw. So look what you did. Now
That's
you're
adorable.
Now you're in public with the cone of shame. He's got like a little allergy skin thing on his paws, so I heard him licking. Everyone heard you licking.
I heard it too.
Now you gotta show off your fancy little cone of shame.
Paulo.
Where was I?
Well,
everyone's been super positive about this. So
yeah, maybe talk about that a little more, like the public art aspect and the community aspect. This being on display in public, right? And having people come by and just words of encouragement.
There's in my primary field, photography, I'm always in the dark room, or I'm alone in front of a computer editing in Photoshop, or then no one sees the finished product until there's like an exhibition. A lot of times the people that do see it, they're not from here, because a lot of my work is shown elsewhere, random places across the U.S. But here, people can actually see it evolve, and they're super stoked about it, and it feels good. It feels like you're contributing to something greater. I enjoy my photography, but this is something different. People can actually see it evolve over time. I think that's the major difference in it.
Yeah, and have a connection to it. They see it going up, they get to talk to you if you have a second, or
that's happened a few times.
Or people driving by honking and screaming your name. That's happened too.
Oh yeah, that's right. My students, former students, came rolling by, and they were honking and shouting. I guess they were just visiting.
They were hyped.
Yeah, like my other students are like, Antonio, you have a fan club? What's going? Why are they driving here at night? Like, I don't know.
We're just checking out the mural. The process.
Yeah.
They're into it. It is cool. It's different. Taking, like a street art. That's, tying together sort of a lot of different skills, and whether it's through the designing online, but then also into the painting by hand and just the physical aspects. and even we've been documenting this whole time. And I know there's another student doing a documentary, I believe, on the.
Yeah, I think she is. I'm not sure if I haven't seen her.
We've
lately.
been filming and we've been taking photographs, and
yeah, you all have. Yeah.
So
yeah.
we'll, there'll be a story to be told later as well.
Nice. I've been doing some time lapse as well when I'm not using my phone to figure out where the heck I'm painting.
Yeah, for the reference.
It's really cool that technology like iPads and the smartphones has also become an important aspect. And we told students, and the students were like, well, how do they do this back like Sistine Chapel like days? Like that's a totally different beast. With a lot of scaffolding, actual tracing, then using I guess puncturing through the drawing and kind of stippling dots. Then you remove the paper, then you connect the dots. Like, yeah, kudos, shout outs to our early predecessors that really had more challenges, who didn't have an iPad and a projector, doing it the old school way.
Yeah, in that regard, this is much more tangible for someone to get into, I guess, than just that extremely technical connect the dots. And, it's kind of the scale, of like the Sistine Chapel is something tiny, but it's on a big scale, and sort of being a monument. These are monumental pieces here.
Yeah.
And having that scale, and again being public, just lends itself to that impact. I guess like a monumental impact of this is a feat of art and design and physical as well, as much as it is
a
anything
lot of
else.
presence, big presence here, as well as the other murals, because that's what attracted me to pick your brain about this, seeing what you and Josh have been doing with I think there was like the Lady Liberty, then the one behind this one I think was like the coal miners, and kind of I think was it the immigration of like Italian reference?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah,
right here.
there.
Yeah. Exactly.
And seeing DOSes. So I just thought, well, School of Art and Design, we have students who draw, paint. We all know Photoshop. I know Photoshop. I know Illustrator. Students know Illustrator. Like, come on, like let's do this. What's really interesting, what has come about this at SIU, they're planning on some murals in Carbondale, and they caught wind of what we're doing, and I'm probably offering another independent study class. Again, it's not on the books, because I just thought this was just going to be it, but it looks like there's other institutions that are interested. So our I believe 304 Art Space in Carbondale, they've contacted me. Hopefully there's going to be a partnership between us and them, so we can do a mural maybe in Cobden or Cairo. That's a possibility as well. So that would also involve like understanding and learning the history of each of those cities, and not doing something exactly like this, but I think the students that are currently in this class, hopefully maybe they'll enroll, and now that they know like what's involved with it. And with my class, their final project, other than like putting paint on walls with this one, they were to create a proposal for either a fictional or a real call for mural arts. I know Murfreesboro had a recent call, so a couple of our students actually applied and put a proposal in for that. Others have put a proposal in for at their hometown down in Kentucky, maybe in the Murray area. And with that, they've learned what a proposal contract looks like, what realistic quotes are for a city of like Marion size or Carbondale size. So there's a lot our students have learned, as well as myself, about the kind of business aspect of street art.
And that's something that I remember when we were first talking about this concept of doing this, you were hoping that that would happen. Like this could be a spark to spur more like projects in other areas.
Yeah, that's kind of like the long vision goal with this, because you know what you all did in Marion, like you have it down pat. Like so, I think a lot of local towns and cities desire that. You know, Murfreesboro obviously moved next, and Carbondale they're finally making some moves. I know that Carbondale does have a few murals. Esteban Deval. Not sure if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. I know he has a mural on the west side of Long Branch, just the side entrance, and across the railroad tracks. Unfortunately, I was trying to reach out to, or I did reach out to him, or just our schedule just didn't work out. So maybe next fall he'll be able to zoom in, because he is a successful street artist based in Brooklyn, New York. He has a distinct style, so looking forward to maybe picking his brain and learning what he's learned in the Brooklyn scene. Because he was a painting, I believe, undergrad with a School of Art and Design, so I think the students would relate to him wonderfully.
Yeah. And there's, this is a historic building that this mural is going on.
Yeah, so that was the challenge. There was like a tall order. Like we wanted the geometric abstract. We wanted to incorporate history in some way. What type of history was kind of tossed up? Then nature and wildlife. Then the building itself. We learned it used to be like a theater, moving pictures. Then and I think in the front side there was like the horses,
the hitch rack.
Right, the hitch rack. So students, we all like were trying to figure out, well, which direction do we go? And students went in mainly in the nature wildlife. That was their primary direction. There was one design that was incorporating some of the moving picture.
What I was wanting to get more at was, what a project like this can do to maybe a wall that has been overlooked, or maybe doesn't look the best. And any town that is, has a downtown, an area where there's the local shops, and what a design and a painting and a piece of art can do to spur inspiration and commerce and community connection through public art. And through this process I've seen, and I think if there's what a mural can do for a morale too for the community. I think if anybody's listening out there, I've seen it. It really it does it.
It brightens up the space, but it also, I don't know, brightens up your mind as well. Just it's joyful.
People coming by all the time. I mean, there's been people, all kinds of people, just passing by. This is history in the making. History in the making. And it's a masterpiece. We've heard like so many different things, and those are just community people just on their way, living life and doing something. But it's a moment for them too to take, and that small ripple can go throughout. And it's just, I love it. I love these kinds of projects, and one thing about this might be my favorite part about these kinds of projects is just that.
Yeah.
Bringing new life, and like you said, it just brightens your mind.
It makes it worth it. That's like I said with my primary focus in photography. Like, I don't get that level of excitement about my photographic work versus what I'm doing here with this group project. So it's quite rewarding. There was, I think, our first Saturday arrangement when I was worried about parking, because I had forgot to ask you, like, is this where the farmer's market is? Because I had assumed like this was like a major hotspot. But fortunately, we were able to park there, and there wasn't a problem. But I can see this maybe in the future being a hot spot where people mingle. And with your upcoming art fair on the 21st,
It's a good transition there.
Yeah, like hopefully, I don't know. Based on how today went, I thought we'd be able to finish the fox completely, and I feel like we just maybe got a fifth of it done, like in terms of trying to get the colors accurate. I don't know if it'll be done completely by the 21st, but I'm definitely going to try to push for it. I think it'd be interesting to bring out the mayor to maybe either spray paint or finish some sort of little element, maybe also the director of School of Art and Design.
That'd be awesome. Even if it's like for the art fair, May 21st, even if there's like finishing touches or some example, I think that'd be okay too. Some people can interact with it more.
Yeah.
And also, if people want to potentially support the project and potentially buy a print, right? Is that something that...
Yeah, so I think that's one way to help fund for future projects. So the idea is being tossed out there, maybe getting this design in print form, probably like a limited edition. I do use a process called ink transfers. So it'd be like one of a kind. Instead of it just coming straight out of a printer, I would also focus on, if it does come out with printer, making sure it's printed on nice photographic paper, since that's kind of my forte. It could be signed by the group on the back, or we're still working on a name. We're trying to figure out what our cool graffiti artist or street artist name is. No one has come up with one yet. When I'm working, I always look and I see Doss's signature, and I think that's so cool. Why don't we have a cool name? Then we have to come up with a cool signature. But that's high possibility that there'll be some prints.
I think it'd be awesome. So if you're going to go to the art fair, be sure to pick some up and buy some from your family, pass them around, support this awesome project. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would. I'm not looking to make money off of this. This is all volunteer on my part. Like, yes, I work for SIU, but this is actually a course that's an overload. No compensation, but any money from prints would actually probably go towards paints for future courses like this. And maybe even like a little slush fund for gas money for students, because the students have been coming here carpooling, and that's other strategy. That's another reason to have big blocks of time to paint, so you're not making multiple smaller trips, painting 2 hours at a time. It makes more sense to paint for a full day, because gas prices are high, as we all know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, Antonio, it's been awesome working alongside you on this project, and just extremely grateful that you're doing it, and it's going to be beyond epic and a testament of for a long time to come.
Yeah.
So
well, it wouldn't be possible without you and this building and all of your connections.
We like to say teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, it's
around here.
It's definitely working this way. Hold on, Paulo. Are you mad at me? Come on, face the camera. You got anything to say? No. Like,
Apollo's been hanging out on the side in the whole time, a lot of the time. So it's been good to have Apollo around the project as well.
It's good for morale.
It keeps our spirits up. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to cover in this podcast today, Antonio? We're in the middle of the project. We're trying to finish it up. Anything someone wants to reach you to see your work, to get connected with
Let's see if
Yeah.
I've been posting some of the time lapse. I mean, I share with you. My Instagram's Antonio Jacob Martinez. That's probably the easiest way to follow me. Mainly a lot of my photographic work, but I have been posting some of the behind the scenes in my stories or reels. If you like Apollo, I've been starting some reels with him. I take him on my bike rides, and he's on my backpack, and we ride together. So a little shout out for Apollo.
That's adorable. Awesome. Well, thanks for doing this, Antonio.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming on the podcast, being here. This is an awesome opportunity, and I've enjoyed getting a moment to reflect and to move forward, and looking forward to finishing it up.
Me too.
So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Check us out on May 21st at the art fair. Pick up a print. Come check out the mural. Talk to the artists that made this happen. We're really excited. Can't wait to do it. We'll have more updates. Keep an eye on social media as we are finishing this project. We'll be posting more stuff, and can't wait to take you along with the journey. Leave a comment. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.